Update. My ex has a restraining order against me and now lives in the same apartment complex. Original post. My ex-wife and I had a rocky marriage. My alcoholism didn't help, and she pushed for divorce. We lived together during this divorce, and one day I found out she was dating another man. I snapped and hit her pretty hard. I was charged with a crime, spent 3 months in jail, went to anger management, and I was also issued a 3-year restraining order. This was 2 years ago. I have since sobered up, met a wonderful woman, and moved to a completely different apartment complex in a completely different part of the city. I never had any further contact with my ex-wife. I admit what I did was wrong. I paid a price. I've since re-established myself. My current woman, who I've been in a relationship with for 2 years, is aware of this background story, which makes things slightly easier. Well, unknown to me, my ex moved into my apartment complex about 5 months ago with her now new husband, who had always lived here, but I did not know this. I saw her in the lobby just before New Year's. She greeted me, I turned shocked and said hello. She asked me what I was doing in the lobby and I said I was just coming in from work. She told me that the restraining order is still in effect and that I need to move out. I tried to reason with her and told her I'd be happy to steer clear of her. I know we don't live on the same floor. I don't even know what floor she lives on. I don't care to know. I told her if I saw her on the elevator, I wouldn't get in and just wait for the next one. But she told me she was going to enforce the restraining order against me. My partner and I literally just signed a brand new 2-year lease 6 months ago. We love the place we live in and wouldn't want to move. And it feels unjust having to move / incur financial hardship because the person I had a restraining order against moved into my apartment complex. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because last night the building management was informed of the restraining order and told us we need to figure this out. Would she really be able to force me out of my home even though I lived here before her? As long as I do my best to avoid any contact with her, which I'm perfectly fine doing, shouldn't that be sufficient? I work a really early schedule, and the fact she was dating this guy and coming over to this apartment complex for the entire time I've been here, and we ran crossed paths, and she's been living here full-time for 5 months and just recently crossed paths. Not sure what to do. FYI, this is New York City. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I'm not a criminal law attorney, but you have some good factors in your favor. You have abided by the order of protection for a long time, 2 years, without incident. You have sobered up and been through counseling. Judges want to hear that stuff. But the best practical advice I can give you is that you should take the lead here. Get an attorney and get yourself back in front of the judge. Tell the judge your story first. If you wait and she drags you into court, you may be viewed with suspicion. Because as others have noted, you're technically in violation of the protection order right now. An attorney in your area will undoubtedly know more about what to ask for. But if you take the lead, the judge will probably be more sympathetic to your cause. Ask for the time of the order to be shortened, out of existence, or that the parameters be redefined so that you can live in the same complex, but that you agree to not have purposeful contact with her. Bottom line, get out in front of this. The first thing you should do is look up your order of protection. Look up the copy you were provided or have the building forward you the copy that she provided them. Do not contact her. If you cannot get a copy, you may need to see if you can see the order by looking at the court copy from the issuing county/court. You should contact your attorney who represented you on the matter involving the restraining order to have the order modified for incidental contact at your home address. In your case, it should be your defense attorney or defense agency who represented you on the criminal matter who can/should help you. Tell them what you've stated on this thread and see what they can do about modification. A 3-year order of protection is odd in New York City/New York State. The typical criminal order of protection is either 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or 8 years, although these orders can be modified by family court sometimes, and DV charges may change the timeline. Family court may also have issued some kind of order of protection independent from the criminal matter order of protection. The distinction is important because you want to make sure which order of protection is still in effect and where to ask for a modification. Now, if you do everything that I mentioned and your attorney tells you that modification is unlikely or impossible, I think that your lease with the building should be broken. Since she's moved into the building, you can't be there without breaking the law, and I don't think that they should penalize you. However, that's probably the next third best scenario for you. Just remember while you're figuring this out, do not contact her. Do not contact her through a third party. If she tries to contact you, do not contact her back. At the time, I had a public defender. My girlfriend has a friend that's a criminal defense attorney, and I'm going to reach out to them. When it came to the restraining order, I didn't put up any resistance. I basically said, yeah, sure, I'll stay away from her. And I meant it too, and have not tried to contact her in any way, shape, or form. And now for the update. The public defender that represented me was no longer practicing in the New York City area, but I retained a lawyer who was a friend of a friend who had experience in this area. My lawyer got references from my protective order, employer, and AA sponsor. Our goal was to get the restraining order modified to a simple no-contact order with no distance requirements, so I could continue living with my partner. I spoke to the judge, told him my story, what I had done to correct my past transgressions. He reviewed my record. We submitted our references. During this time period, I was crashing on a friend's couch as to not violate my protective order. PO said I had paid my fines, followed all the rules, but never once had to remind me of my restrictions and so forth, and said he was impressed with my turnaround. My employer said that I was always early, never seemed to be under the influence or hangover from anything, and even at our company functions was very open and honest about my sobriety and didn't partake in drinking. My AA sponsor said good things about me too, how he was impressed with my maturity and openness in my alcoholism and addiction. Then the judge asked my ex-wife to speak. My ex-wife said she was shocked by my turnaround. She said that it seemed unfair to her to require me to move because she moved into my building unknowingly, and that she no longer felt threatened by me. This was a shock to both my lawyer and I, as I expected my ex to want to keep the protective order in place. The judge said that he wouldn't modify the protective order but lift it entirely, as he felt it had served its purpose and that based upon my references, my testimony, and most importantly the testimony of my ex, that he didn't see how keeping its place was benefiting anymore. He did tell my ex that if she ever felt threatened or in danger because of something I said or did, she could contact the police. The judge then told me his main reason for lifting the order was to allow me to live in my current apartment, but advised it was a good idea to avoid contact with my ex to avoid any potential complications down the road. He reminded me because of my past, it wouldn't take much to get another protective order put in place. I told the judge I had no intention of contacting/talking to my ex, and I was thrilled that I don't have to move and get to stay with my current girlfriend. So over the course of this weekend, I moved back into my apartment with my girlfriend. I'm glad this was resolved. Now for the last story. Update. I, 24 female, got into an argument with my boyfriend, 25 male, over sharing a bed with my mother or sister. Original post. For some context, my mom, me, and my sister are very close. She raised us by herself, so it has always been just us. She's married now to our wonderful stepdad, who I'm also close to, and I spend time with my family whenever I can. After my mom finished her master's a few years ago and got settled into her career, she has made a point to have a girls' weekend once a month, or at least spend a day together. This often entails a small road trip to a nearby town, a theme park if it's during the summer, or during quarantine we just video chat for a few hours and drink wine. Whatever it is we do, my mom foots the whole bill. She says it's her way to make up for not being able to afford much when we were growing up. Our significant others are always welcome to join, but in the past they haven't usually. My stepdad and my sister's fiancé actually get along great, and they have gone fishing during these weekends before. Overall, I love my family dynamic and have no plans on changing it. Now onto the issue. I met my boyfriend about a year ago. We have always gotten along great, and my family loves him. He has joined us on these trips once or twice and seemed to have a good time. Last weekend was a girls' weekend, and we were planning to go to a city about an hour away. We planned on leaving Friday and returning Sunday night. Boyfriend was invited but declined as he had plans. I thought that was the end of it. About an hour before I headed out, I mentioned how the Airbnb we rented only had one bed. So I was probably going to end up sharing that with my mom or sister, or I was going to sleep on the couch. He seemed very weirded out by that. He said something like, "You don't feel awkward sharing a bed with your mom? How can you not see how weird that is? I would never share a bed with my mom or a sibling. Blah, blah, blah." I told him he was being weird and gross, and that they were family. He then mentioned how I often sleep naked, which is not even a decent argument because obviously I'm not gonna sleep naked with my freaking mother or sister. I told him it wouldn't be the first time we have shared a bed, and that he needed to drop it. This resulted in an actual screaming match that went out for like 20 minutes. He doesn't live with me, so I told him to get out and give me his key before I left, which he was reluctant to do. He then told me to just sleep on the couch and none of this would be an issue, which I told him there was no issue, and that it was being weird. I asked him multiple times by sharing a bed with my mother or sister was even a problem, but he wouldn't give me a straight answer. I left. I didn't answer a single one of his many calls or messages over the weekend. I got back Sunday night, but I've only spoken to him once. He is still demanding I apologize and reiterating how wrong the situation was. Is there something I'm not seeing here? Is it actually that weird to share a bed with your own family? Right now, our relationship is in limbo, and I'm thinking of ending it. But I have had a few friends now tell me they can understand where he's coming from, and that I should just apologize and move on because our relationship is great otherwise. Any advice? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I had an ex that flipped out when I helped my sister, a single mother, bathe her kids when she has the flu. Lost his mind and said it's so gross to see kids naked. And he couldn't believe my sister even looked at her son, an actual baby, naked. Him being weirded out weirded me out. Because at best, his attachments to family are cold and weird. And at worst, because of his own conditioning, he was sexualizing a non-sexual situation. It's gross and indicative of an immaturity you've long since outgrown at 24. I would love to know what he found horrifying about a mother seeing her infant naked. Does he think babies change their own diapers? The heck? How about daycare? Am I a pedo because I've had to change poopy diapers? The man was deranged. He was also a little over 10 years older than me, which made sense because women his age sniffed out how much of a weirdo he was. That red flag made me run. Like, whatever his upbringing was, I can't imagine reacting to something different with horror and rage, and not just like, oh, that wasn't my experience, but tell me about it. How absolutely ridiculous. Have you met his parents? Don't even engage in a conversation regarding this. Tell him he will never dictate to you what you're supposed to feel, and most certainly not to try to make you change how you communicate with your family. This sounds like a red flag though. I've met his family many times. He has a good relationship with both parents and his elder sister. That's what to me makes his reaction so outlandish. It seems so unlikely that he's never shared a bed with a family member, at least when he was younger. But the way he was acting though, you'd think he had never heard of such a thing. I keep thinking about messaging him back or blocking him altogether, but I really want to know what caused him to go so nuclear. It absolutely is a red flag though. It just sucks because I do love him. Small update. When all this happened, I didn't tell my mom/sister because I didn't want to ruin their weekend. Now that people are pointing out that maybe the dude has an incest kink or was mistreated, and I'm freaking out and crying. I called my mom and told her what happened. She's a bit mortified but was able to calm me down. I was going to call him and ask him to come over so we could talk, but my mom and stepdad do not want me alone with him, so I just messaged him and asked him to call me. I hope it's neither of those things, but logically, what else could cause this kind of reaction? I'll update again if anything happens. Now for the full update. The first post is locked now, but I did want to leave an update for anyone who is curious. Everything is still a mess basically. We talked after he got off work the other night. He started a conversation by asking how the trip went, and he did actually apologize. Or rather, he basically said, I'm sorry for my reaction and how it escalated, but not how I feel about the situation. I again asked him to explain just how sharing a bed with my mom or sister was inherently wrong, and if he felt that way maybe because of how he was raised to view sharing a bed. He just kinda doubled down and said no. It was just weird and he could never share a bed with his mom, and cannot understand how I was comfortable with doing it myself. I forgot to mention this in my first post, but I actually did end up sleeping on the couch. When I told him this, he said that had I just said that, none of this mess would have happened, and was pretty much implying that this issue continuing was my fault. I was getting pissed at this point, and said basically that sharing a bed was not inherently sexual or intimate, and that him thinking so at all was weird as heck. I point blank asked him if he genuinely thinks something would happen between me and my own mother or sister, and at this point he began to backtrack. He said that was not what he said, and that I was twisting his words, when I absolutely was not. He told me I was disgusting for implying that. We went back and forth on this, until he was like, fine, okay. Maybe I was out of line, but I still think it's inappropriate. But I guess I will just get over it. Can we please just move past this? I told him I had a lot to think about, and that I needed space. After we hung up, I immediately went to bed and tried not to think about it much today. His sister ended up calling me when I got home from work today. We've become really friendly since I started dating my boyfriend, so usually I wouldn't think anything of this. But I pretty much knew it was going to be about the bed situation. Sure enough, it was. He had asked her for advice on how to fix the situation and tried to explain his perspective to it. She said that she told him he was being a dumbass, and very, very weird about the situation. She wanted to know if I was okay, and asked if he had apologized yet. I asked her if they had ever shared beds and family vacations, and she said of course. She's quite a bit older than him. She's in her early 40s and a mom herself, and she helped her parents a lot with him when he was young. She said his behavior right now was weird and gross and totally out of character. She apologized for being nosy, but I thanked her for checking in on me. I didn't tell her about the post, but I did get the courage to ask her if he had maybe suffered from some sort of mistreatment that she knew of. She assured me that she didn't think that was likely, but that she couldn't speak for him. She told me that we needed to talk this out in person and either resolve it or break up. But either way, I have her support. I'm really, really going to miss her. Very cool lady. And now I'm here. I don't know if she told him about our conversation, but he agreed to meet with me tomorrow morning. I haven't talked to my family about this because I'm sure they would think it was a bad idea to meet in person with him right now. Regardless of what he is willing to tell me, I am done. This is too much, and I don't know if any explanation is going to be enough to fix this. Thanks for all the advice yesterday, and I'll post a small update after tomorrow if anything does happen. Please meet in a public place just to be on the safe side. I don't know why he keeps doubling down. That's what is so weird. It'll be a coffee shop, not to worry. I think he's doubling down like this because he either realizes he's wrong and doesn't want to admit it, so he's content with arguing, or there's something like a kink or trauma making him react like this. I'm not going to be surprised if he still doesn't back down when we talk tomorrow. But regardless, I'm bringing him the few things he left at my house and breaking up with him officially.
Update. My ex-wife divorced me after she got cancer so that she could leave first. Now she wants to come back. Should I give her another chance? Original post. I, 34 male, met my wife, I'll call her Anna, 32 female, during our first year of university. We dated through university and got married right after her graduation. Things were happy for a while until Anna discovered a lump in her right breast. I encouraged her to have it checked out. She was reluctant to do so, but ultimately did, because breast cancer runs in her family. And sure enough, that's what she had. The good news, if it can be considered good news, was that the cancer she had was extremely treatable with chemo and radiation. Based on her family history, her doctor also recommended a double mastectomy for her. This put Anna in a really dark place. I suggested she go to therapy, but she outright refused and said she never wanted to hear me suggest that again. So I did my best to be encouraging and supportive to her. I took time off work to be at every appointment with her. I took on 100% of the household chores both inside and out. I did all of the shopping, drove Anna everywhere she wanted to go. I planned out special dates for us. I gave her an hour-long foot massage every night. I literally did whatever I could. About 6 weeks into her treatment, Anna brought up the idea of going to stay with her sister Sarah for a week. This honestly relieved me as I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to accomplish everything, and I thought some time apart would help us both. 2 nights into her stay with Sarah, Anna called me and said she wanted a divorce. She said she had read a lot about men who abandon their wives when their wives get sick, and that she was determined to leave me before I could leave her. I can't put into words how much this crushed me. I loved my wife. She was my everything. I begged her to reconsider. Told her I had never thought of leaving her, not even once. I asked her again to go to therapy. She refused again. I asked her to go to couples therapy with me. She wouldn't. I asked her what I could do to convince her I wanted to stay. She said there was nothing. I am a man and therefore I would leave. End of story. It took about a year because of where we live, thanks COVID, but eventually everything was finalized. I ended up selling the house and splitting the proceeds between me and my now ex-wife. I didn't want to stay in that town anymore, so I put in a transfer request at my job and ended up moving to a town about 2 hours away. For the past couple of years, I've been focusing on myself more. I got a dog. I've been on a few dates, but nothing serious. I picked up hiking as a hobby and started gardening. Out of the blue, Anna called me 3 weeks ago. She said she'd been in town on a trip with friends and saw me, and all of her old feelings rushed back. She said she was sick and out of her mind at the time, and that I couldn't hold her words or her actions against her. She said she still loved me, that she always had, and that she regretted leaving me. She begged me to give her another chance. I'm so confused. If I'm being honest, I still love Anna, but I'm no longer in love with her. She broke my heart. I was devastated when she ended things. It took me a long time to get my head on right, but I also know she really was in a bad place because of the cancer. Do I owe it to her and what we had to hear her out? I'm scared that if we reconnect, I'll always feel like she'll have one foot out the door. But maybe that's unfair. I don't know what to do. Should I give her another chance like she wants? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I never recommend couples getting back together unless the issues that drove them apart are fixed. Cancer was not the problem. Lack of communication, trust, and a willingness to compromise were, on her end. She made unilateral decisions without caring how it affected you. She refused therapy. The way you're writing this, it's still all about what she wants, which sounds like the dynamic that destroyed your marriage. So what changed? I wouldn't do it. But if you want to open the door, you need to start with brutally honest couples therapy, and her active and honest participation is non-negotiable and a deal breaker otherwise. Have the therapy to hash out and bury the past, and see if dating is an eventual possibility. You guys need to start from scratch. And it's okay if you try it and you can't move on like she expects you to. She hurt you, regardless of her motivations. Sometimes you can't undo things. Like going to therapy during an extremely difficult, traumatic time in your life is something you shut down and demand your loved one never mention, becoming emotionally healthy ever again. If you do try again, therapy should be non-negotiable. The fact that she refused therapy while going through breast cancer really makes me nervous for the future of the relationship. I'm absolutely not saying everyone has to process things the same way, but a situation like that is what therapy is there for. And I would hope any partner I have might at least consider giving it a chance. She said she was sick and out of her mind at the time, and that I couldn't hold her words or her actions against her. She hasn't changed. Here she is refusing to take responsibility for her actions when you both know you gave her every opportunity to find help. If she really wanted to make things work with you, why did it take her seeing you by chance to do something? No, she's just lonely and is trying to shoot her shot because she's betting you're not over her. Exactly. She's over 30 and still won't even take responsibility for her actions. Cancer doesn't change your personality like that, not your values. She's the same person who divorced him and hasn't changed. Now for the update. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who left comments on my original post. I now know what people mean when they say, "rip my inbox." I posted that and went to bed never expecting it would blow up so much. By the time I woke up, the post was locked. Not sure why, so I couldn't respond to any comments. But I read as many as I could and tried to take everything into consideration. Many of you suggested I reach out to my ex-wife Anna for an in-person conversation. The overwhelming consensus was that meeting her in person would tell me all I needed to know. And you were right. That seemed reasonable to me. I texted her, and she jumped at the chance to meet, and we did so yesterday after I was done with work. I chose to ask her to meet at a local coffee shop. Maybe it sounds bad, but I didn't want to meet her at my house or anywhere private just in case. Anyway, Anna was already there when I got there. She got up and hugged me. I let her, but didn't hug her back. Then we sat down. I asked her to remain quiet while I talked, and then I told her everything. I'm going to sum it up here because I honestly don't remember everything I said. I think I talked for like 10 minutes straight while she just sat there and teared up. But I told her things like how much she had devastated me. I told her that I would have stuck with her through thick and thin no matter what. I told her that I loved her, and that hadn't changed after her diagnosis or treatment plan. I told her that I was broken after she initiated the divorce. I told her how hard it was for me to pull myself back together. A lot of you pointed out that if Anna and I got back together, I should be worried about what she would do the next time she got sick, or if I got sick. And you were right. So I told her that too, and she got mad and interrupted me at that point. She said I was being unfair, that I wasn't taking into consideration her mental health at the time. She said she wasn't thinking straight, but that now she was. I took the chance to ask her if she'd been to therapy. She told me she hadn't, and that she had no plans to, and that she didn't need it. I have to admit, that crushed me a little. I asked her why. Just why? It's the one question I've really wrestled with over the months. And she said that she'd gone looking for support groups and found a lot of women who had stories about their partners leaving. She even mentioned Reddit, funnily enough. She said she talked it through with her sister Sarah. Anna said that Sarah, to her credit, had tried to dissuade her from divorcing me. But that between social media and some of Anna's friends, Anna felt like she had to go through with it to be seen as a strong woman. That is word for word what she said to me. I don't remember anything else exactly, but I will never forget that. She broke my heart and threw away our relationship because somehow in her mind, that translated to being strong. She then started trying to tell me we could get back together again, but at that point, I just told her flat out that wasn't happening. What it comes down to for me is that I just can't trust her. I would always be worrying about the same thing happening again. She cried a lot and tried convincing me for a little while. When I got up to leave, she threw her iced coffee in my face and stormed out. So yeah, we're definitely not getting back together. I have the closure I always wanted. I wish it felt better. I've been dwelling on it for the past day and a half. I keep wondering if there's something I could have done better, some way I could have saved our relationship. But I know there's not. I've blocked her number. I kind of hope I never hear from her again. Good Lord, this woman sounds terrible. Perfect example of a sympathetic life situation, getting cancer, not turning a bad egg into a good one. Imagine doing all of this hideously hurtful stuff to someone, taking no responsibility, and then throwing a drink in his face like a real housewife. I feel a bit like crap saying this, but this woman both had cancer and was a cancer. It's terrible that it all happened, but I genuinely think that OP would have had a worse time later on if it hadn't. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. Crappy people can get sick too. My aunt has always been a colossal a-hole, and getting cancer didn't change that. She'd beg my mom to come help her, then spend their time together berating her until she left, and then whine to everyone that she was abandoned by her family. She had a girlfriend with the patience of a saint who was willing to put up with all of that, but then she cheated, said, "But I have cancer" as the only excuse, and then whined that she got walked out on because she had cancer. She's fine now, but we still don't talk because she's still a piece of shit. Also because she's still holding a grudge against me for something my mom said to her when I was a toddler. My very first memory of her was her insulting me when I was about 4 to 6 years old. So yeah, sometimes crappy people get cancer. That's life. This woman threw her relationship away and destroyed a man she was supposed to love, all to impress some strangers on the internet. So happy OP didn't take this awful woman back. She reminds me a bit of the woman who told her husband she was going to cheat on him because she survived cancer, therefore she deserved a hall pass. Next story. I, 29 female, broke up with my partner, 30 male, after a surprise party. I'm looking to see how others would have reacted to this situation. For context, I've been dating my now ex for 5 months. Things were mostly smooth, except for the little things that were becoming consistent. He would often change, delay, and/or cancel plans last minute for a variety of reasons. He often knew things would change, but didn't let me know until right before we were to meet up. He was 30 minutes late to our first date. I'm a person who really values their time and requires a bit of planning. I have been understanding, forgiving, and flexible with his ever-changing timeline. I did bring up several times that if this became consistent, it would be a problem. Then I told him that it would be a complete deal breaker if he canceled big plans. He always promised to make it up to me, but never did, and he never changed. Well, that time came. He was away for work for a month, with minimal to no contact due to the nature of his work. We had planned to rejoice the night he came back. It started off with him saying he'd come straight to my place. Then he said he needed to drop off stuff and get clothes at his place. He lives with his family. A few minutes later, he called me to tell me he was staying to have dinner with his parents. I told him that it was upsetting because I had dinner waiting for him. His first question was to ask what it was. Then he texted me to tell me he wouldn't be long and insisted he'd come over even after I said not to worry about it right now. I'm waiting and waiting. I got a call but couldn't answer right away, and then received a text stating that his family had a surprise party for him and that he wasn't coming at all after all. No invite, no acknowledgement of the hurt, and a vague non-committal plan to come over first thing tomorrow. That was it for me. I waited a whole month for him and planned several days in advance to have a nice dinner. Cleaned my apartment top to bottom, shaved, got dolled up. For nothing. I called him out and told him that it was weird his family planned a surprise party, knowing we had plans, and didn't even bother to invite me. He started backpedaling and saying I was invited and that he wanted to see me. I stood my ground and told him that I couldn't do this anymore. I stayed firm in my decision and had him pick up his things the next day. I wonder if I was too harsh in not having a more in-depth conversation about the issue, although my decision would have been the same. Now for the top comments. He doesn't respect you or your time. His lack of awareness of you and your valuable time is enough for me to also break up with someone. You aren't his priority. Thanks for the clarity. I knew that this was the case, but was letting my feelings cloud my judgment. When I see a post like this, I feel strangely invigorated. When you see all the posts of people being trampled over by their partner, then you see posts like this. The gaslighting, narcissism, manipulation, the many forms of abuse, and much more. It can be a lot for the reader to take in. I just want to say good for you. I'm proud of you. I wish I'd known what you know sooner. My life would have been a lot different. I'd change his contact name to Tardy in my phone because I'm ruthless. And if he messages you, it's a reminder. Let me guess, he was also late when picking up his belongings? If so, that should really cement your decision. Haha, there was no set time, but he got to my place later than he should have been there. Drive to my place from his 20 minutes, arrived an hour after he said, on my way. Made me crack up to read this. Thanks. Last story. My 31 female husband, 30 male, did not get me anything for my birthday because it was too much pressure. We've only been married since December, but have been together for 3 years and have known each other for 5. He's one of the nicest people I've ever known, and he's gone out of his way to help me even before we were dating. He knows how important my birthday is to me, but he's always not cared about his. This year, because I know it's difficult for him, I started reminding him months in advance to figure out a plan and a gift. It needs to be said that my net income is about 3 times his, so I wasn't expecting diamonds or anything, just relatively cheaper stuff that I couldn't justify buying for myself. I also sent him links to things that I found cool but couldn't justify buying, Kill Bill t-shirt and some fake earrings. He got nothing. He said he was trying very hard to find something that I would like and just couldn't figure anything out. That was one fight. The second was about how he went about getting the cake. I asked him to place the order in advance because I feel more comfortable planning ahead of time. He insisted that he knew the bakery and he could easily get the cake an hour in advance. The day before my birthday, I asked him once again if he could just place the order, and he snapped at me. At that moment, I gave up. I told him to cancel everything and I went out with strangers and celebrated with them. He called asking if he could join, but I said no. He apparently got an emergency therapy session, and the therapist also told him that was a dick move. I know he didn't mean to hurt me, and he's been apologizing and offering to buy me whatever I want, but I'm not able to let my anger go. He knew this was important to me, and he went out of his way to ruin it for me, and I'm not able to get over it. How do we move forward from this? I need help and advice. Couples therapy is on the table, but right now I'm still too angry to have a conversation. P.S. I also plan his birthdays and get him gifts. He's the nicest person you've ever known? Right? Then she's been around some awful people. Or is he only nice when she's doing what he wants? I know he didn't mean to hurt me. I question this OP. If you give someone idiot-proof guidance on what you like, and they simply choose to ignore it, what do you think the endgame is there other than to hurt you? He knew this was important to me, and he went out of his way to ruin it for me, and I'm not able to get over it. Yes, this is the key. He knew what you wanted, and he chose to do the opposite. Maybe because he enjoys the power trip of depriving you of something that would make you happy, or of making you feel devalued in small, plausibly deniable ways. The why doesn't really matter. It's deliberate passive aggression, and you shouldn't tolerate it. If this guy is anything like my ex, he's sabotaging something important to her because he's feeling upset and insecure. Birthdays, anniversaries, family events, and even funerals were weaponized. He'd kick up drama the day of, never sooner, and the day would end with him as the focus. It was like I couldn't love anyone else, including myself, without having to prove that I loved him first. It was exhausting.